Right, mate. So this is like part 2 of the no parameters tutorial, mate. Right, because I'm Australian stuff, right? Right, mate. Alright, guys. So let's start talking about parenting. Now, I'm not talking about the whole parenting child sort of thing. I'm talking about the parenting system that comes in Realflow. Now, the parenting system in Realflow is basically, in layman's terms, just going to link all of your elements to one master or one parent element, and it will link it on its node parameters from everything from position to pivot. Okay, so in order to do that, let's say, for example, I want to have my circle emitter as the parent here. I don't have to do anything for the circle emitter, so let's move on to our children. Okay, so now let's select the rocket right here, go over to our node parameters up top. Under the parent.2 parameter, we'll select the box right here, left click, and now all we have to do really is just select our circle element, or circle emitter actually. Now let's move on to the daemon, and we'll go now over to our node parameters under our parent2 parameter, select the box, and now select our circle. Okay, so now these are parented to the circle as children. So for example, if I wanted to move the circle around, it would move it in conjunction to what they were originally stated for the parameters for the circle. That was a horrible explanation, so let me just show you an interpretive video. Let's change our scale right now to, let's say, 1.9. Okay. And now it's changed our scale of the circle and the rocket, but not the daemon, because the daemon itself is actually just a representation of a formula that Realflow uses, but you get the point, okay? You guys aren't that stupid, alright? Great. Now let's change the shear, boost it up to 2. Okay. So if we look at both of these, check it out. Okie dokies. So the parenting system will link everything from the position all the way down to the pivot. So that in itself is the parenting parameter. Alright guys, now let's get started talking about dynamics. Now dynamics are going to be the unique parameter that's found in the objects in Realflow. Akin to the nodes we have, which is the X-form particles, objects have the dynamics. Now dynamics in Realflow really means fluid dynamics. And if you already know the definition of fluid dynamics, in layman's terms that means the interaction of fluids. So let's simulate this just to give you an example. So let's simulate right here. As you can see, the particles are bouncing off my cross, and the only thing that's really interacting with the scene at all is just the particles. The cross itself is not doing anything except acting as a barrier, but itself as an object is not being affected by any other outside forces. So in order to change that, we'll go over into our dynamics panel right here under our node parameters, select the box. Under the drop-down menu, we'll select the soft body. Same thing goes for our torus right at the bottom. Okay, so now that we've done that, now we simulate once more. As you can see now, the particles are directly affecting the objects by moving it in conjunction with the force that we've given to it in the node parameter of the emitter. So, now it's, well, doing fluid dynamics. You can only use these for objects so far, as anything else would honestly not really make any sense, as daemons are just physical representations of the formulas that Realflow uses, and emitters are, well, particles themselves. So this is fluid dynamics, and that was the dynamics parameter in Realflow. Alright guys, now let's get started on X-form particles and what they are and how do they work. Like I was saying in my earlier video, X-form particles is the unique parameter to the emitter nodes. So basically this is what it does, and it's very, very simple. Okay, so I'm going to turn X-form off, which is it already is. And in this scene right here, as an example, I have gravity set to just a small strength of 1. And my emitter is going to be moving across a screen keyframed. Okay, now we have X-form particles turned off. Let's see what it does. As you can see, the water is staying completely still while the animation of the emitter is moving. So imagine a garden hose and you're moving it backwards. Obviously, this wouldn't happen unless the water was moving out at an incredibly fast rate in comparison to the rate of the garden hose's opening movement. So now let's turn X-form particles on. We select our emitter, go over to our X-form particles parameter, select the box, and just select yes. Now let's simulate again. Now this looks much more realistic. So imagine someone watering with a garden hose, and then suddenly they start moving it back very, very fast, And this is what it would look like because the motion of the water before it comes out of the hose would be moved. So this is a really important thing to know about once you start animating with Realflow. So that is the X-form particles parameter. Alright guys, now let's get on to our final node parameter, which is the color parameter. Now, this is the simplest of all the parameters, honestly, in my opinion, and honestly, it's one of the most useful too. Now, when I do a scene with many amounts of objects, like for example, fluid dynamics in an engine, for example, like, imagine gasoline, those little commercials where gasoline rushes into an engine through the carburetors, and I don't know what I'm talking about with engines, but basically when you see gas and liquids go through an engine, it looks all cool and stuff, right? Well, there's thousands of parts that go into an engine and maybe hundreds that go into building one with 3D or even more. So in order to separate them all correctly, most people would honestly either parent them or put colors on them as well. So I like mine with pretty colors. That's my personal preference. In order to do that, now we just select any of our elements. Either it can be daemon, emitter, or an object, and I'll select this object right here, go over to our node parameters, under the color parameter, left click, and select any color. Doesn't matter what, it can be anything of your choosing that's a color. Okay? Can't be colors that don't exist, because that's not possible. Now, select any color, select OK. Ta-da! Now it's changed. Same thing goes for our emitter. Let's change to something cool like red. Ta-da! Once more. Now let's go over to our rocket. Left click that color parameter, and now let's select something cool like hot pink or pink. Ta-da! So that was the color parameter. Now you guys know all the node parameters for objects, daemons, and emitters. So congratulations.
When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonade. Make combustible lemons that burns your house down.